The classroom was silent, save for the rhythmic, mechanical ticking of the wall clock. Professor Eris sat behind his mahogany desk, his hands trembling as he gripped a thick, leather-bound file. Across from him, the headmaster leaned forward, his shadow stretching long and sharp across the floorboards. "He was your best student," the headmaster said, his voice cutting through the quiet like a blade. "Brilliant. The top of his class for 3 consecutive years." Eris looked down at the photograph clipped to the top of the file. It showed a young man with a sharp, intelligent gaze, standing proudly in the university courtyard. Eris remembered the late nights in the laboratory, the hum of the cooling fans, and the way the boy had solved the complex equations that had stumped the faculty for decades. He recalled the smell of ozone and the frantic scribbling of chalk on blackboards. "I taught him everything I knew," Eris whispered, his voice barely audible against the ticking clock. He felt a surge of pride, a memory of a mind that moved faster than light, unaware that his own legacy was currently unraveling in the dim light of the office. The headmaster stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the rain-slicked campus. "You taught him how to build it, Eris, but you never asked what he intended to use it for." He tossed a small, metallic drive onto the desk. It clattered against the wood, spinning until it stopped perfectly in the center of the blotter. Eris reached out, his fingers brushing the cold metal. He plugged the drive into his terminal. The screen flickered, displaying a series of encrypted logs. As Eris scrolled through the lines of code, his face drained of color. These were not academic experiments. They were blueprints for a weapon, designed to bypass every security protocol in the city. He clicked through folder after folder, seeing the schematics for signal jammers and logic gate overrides. The complexity was staggering. The terminal light cast a harsh, blue glow across his desk. He sat back, his hands hovering over the keyboard, the reality of his student's intent settling in. Eris hovered his cursor over the final file. It was labeled simply with a date, one that fell weeks after the student had left the university. He clicked. The terminal screen blinked, the blue light reflecting in his wide, unblinking eyes. A video player window snapped open, filling the monitor with a high-definition feed. The background was unmistakable: the laboratory. He saw the same worn workbench, the same scattered components, and the same flickering fluorescent light. But the atmosphere was wrong. The room was unnaturally still, devoid of the usual hum of equipment. Then, the student stepped into the frame. Eris leaned forward, his chair groaning under his weight. He searched for the familiar spark of curiosity, the eager tilt of the head he had seen 1,000 times. It was gone. The student stood perfectly still, his posture rigid, his gaze locked onto the camera lens with a terrifying, hollow intensity. He did not blink. He did not shift. He simply stared, his face a mask of calculated indifference that chilled the air in the office. Eris felt the blood drain from his extremities as the realization hit. The person on the screen was a stranger, and he was the one who had handed him the tools. The student spoke, his voice crisp and devoid of the warmth Eris had once cultivated. "You always told me that knowledge has no morality," he said, the words cutting through the office silence. "You were right, Professor. It only has utility." Eris gripped the edge of his mahogany desk, his knuckles turning white as he processed the cold logic of the statement. The student did not pause, his eyes never wavering from the lens. "I simply found a more efficient application for your theories than you ever dared to imagine." Eris felt the foundation of his career buckle. He had spent decades believing he was shaping a brilliant mind, a successor to his own legacy. Instead, he had been sharpening a blade that was now poised to sever the city's security. The student leaned forward, the movement sudden and predatory. "The utility is absolute," he concluded. Then, the screen flickered once and cut to black. The sudden absence of light left the office feeling cavernous. Eris released his grip on the desk, his hands trembling violently. He stared at the dark monitor, the reflection of his own pale, hollow face staring back at him. The headmaster turned, his eyes hard and unyielding. "The authorities are on their way, Eris. You have 10 minutes to explain how your best student gained access to the mainframe." Eris did not answer. He looked at the empty chair where his student had spent years working. The silence of the room was now absolute. He stood up, his movements stiff and mechanical, and walked to the window. Below, the courtyard was bathed in rhythmic pulses of blue light. Police cruisers blocked the exits, their sirens silenced. The legacy he had spent a lifetime building had evaporated in an instant. He pressed his palm against the glass and waited for the heavy knock at the door.